The Prime Minister wanted to update Parliament following his recent visit to Afghanistan and Pakistan, an opportunity to give an overview of the UK aims and objectives against terrorism.
With permission, Mr. Speaker, our counter-terrorist strategy published last month set out how we are working to tackle terrorism around the globe. But one priority, indeed the greatest international priority, is the border areas of Afghanistan and Pakistan. They are the crucible for global terrorism. They are the breeding ground for international terrorists. They are the source of a chain of terror that links the mountains of Afghanistan and Pakistan to the streets of Britain. Pakistan and Afghanistan are, of course, different countries at different stages of development. But as the document we are publishing today emphasises, together they face this shared challenge of terrorism. In Afghanistan, the Afghan Taliban are using mines and suicide bombs to carry out innocent attacks on our troops and on innocent civilians. In Pakistan, the army and security services are now dealing with the wider territorial ambitions made clear by the Pakistan Taliban. Last year alone, in Pakistan itself, 2,000 civilians and security personnel were killed in terrorist attacks. Suicide bombs in Pakistan, once relatively rare, were used 60 times last year and are at the same level this year, an almost tenfold rise in over 2 years. And we know that terrorist leaders are orchestrating attacks around the world from these border areas in Pakistan and Afghanistan. And we know also of the stronger connections that now exist between the Afghan and Pakistan Taliban and between them and Al-Qaeda and other terrorist groups. And this requires us to take further, more determined and concerted action. In our December 2007 strategy, we made right long-term decisions for Afghanistan, decisions that were reinforced in the conclusions of the United States review last month. Now, following our own review to identify what is working and where we need to go further, I want to set out an updated strategy for our actions in both Afghanistan and Pakistan and how we will mobilise our resources to do this. In both countries, we are working with elected governments, including through our commitments to support their economic development, and combined development and stabilised expenditure of 255 million, 256 and 339 million, a total of almost £1 billion over 3 years. And in both cases, our involvement in these countries is focused on the tasks that are necessary to enable these countries to counter the terrorist threat themselves. For Afghanistan, our strategy is to ensure the country is strong enough as a democracy to withstand and overcome the terrorist threat. And strengthening Afghan control and resilience will require us to intensify our work in the following key areas. First, we will build up the Afghan police and army and build up the rule of law, and we should now adopt the stated goal of enabling district by district, province by province, handover to Afghan control. Second, we want to strengthen Afghan democracy at all levels, including by ensuring credible and inclusive elections and improving security through that period. Thirdly, we want to help strengthen local government in Afghanistan, not least the traditional Afghan structures such as the local shuras. And fourth, we want to give people in Afghanistan a stake in their future, promoting economic development as the best way of helping the Afghan people to achieve not just stability but prosperity. In Pakistan, our strategy to tackle the same underlying problem of terrorism results in different proposals. First, we want to work with the elected government and the army, but while Afghanistan's forces are at an early stage, so international forces have to play a frontline role. By contrast, Pakistan has a large, well-funded army, and we want to work with them to help them counter terrorism by taking more control of the border areas. And secondly, in Pakistan, not least through support for education and development, we want to prevent young people falling under the sway of violent and extremist ideologies.
Mr. Brown centred again on the importance of the border areas.
Mr. Speaker, it has become increasingly clear over the last year just how crucial Pakistan and its border area with Afghanistan has become, both to stability in Afghanistan and to our national security at home. These border areas are used by violent extremists as a base for launching attacks against the coalition forces in Afghanistan. As President Obama has said, Al-Qaeda and its extremist allies are a cancer that risks killing Pakistan from within. So while the problems in Afghanistan and Pakistan are different, and they require different approaches, we can no longer consider the terrorist threats arising in the two countries in isolation from each other. While in Pakistan, I met with President Zardari, Prime Minister Gilani and with former Prime Minister Sharif, and we discussed stronger action against terrorism and violent extremism. We are agreeing clear shared principles for our bilateral relationship, that terrorism and violent extremism present the most significant threat to both Britain and Pakistan. And through Pakistan, and especially in the border areas, there must be long-term good governance and economic development to underpin progress on security.
A long-term strategy for both Afghanistan and Pakistan.